Hey, fellow humans, welcome to Unraveling the Shoulds. You know all of those stories in our minds that are built upon who we thought we should be? Well, we're going to unravel those. We're going to journey into the quiet magic of everyday life. Those moments where each small thought holds a thread that can unravel the story of who we thought we were. As those threads fall away, what emerges is our mountaintop self. The true soul of us that is vast and free and whole. Through myth, philosophy, and lived experience, we'll discuss and walk this path together, unraveling into the truth, remembering who we've always been. How about we finally stop shoulding all over ourselves?
So if I woke up this morning feeling totally off and go to this yoga class and commit to doing my best, offering the class, staying with the flow, even though I might be having like a moment of turmoil. I guess it's a two-part question. Is there some justification and understanding that we might be able to have for ourselves and then therefore for other people, and recognizing like, oh, we're all fluctuating human beings. Sometimes we're going to show up and not be perfect. So talking about on one level, like this expectation of perfection. And then on the other side, like this idea of pushing through or like quickly alchemizing something or quickly shifting gears or quickly like sidestepping an overwhelming moment so that we can show up appropriately for that moment. Like, how would you talk about navigating both of those options? Does that make sense?
It does. I think what you're asking is, how can I show up authentically with also holding the space for what I'm currently going through? Okay. So when I say vulnerability, my definition of vulnerability is tell the whole truth. First, we want to tell the whole truth to ourselves. And then when you're teaching a yoga class or you're walking into being yourself in public or in a shared space, you may not want to tell the whole truth to everybody in the room. So the question is, how do I hold space for myself and others? Particularly on days when I'm feeling less inspired. Hard stop, less inspired. And that's what I was saying, that vulnerability means telling the whole truth. And the whole truth always starts with ourselves. So waking up and feeling blah, honoring the feeling is different than trying to figure out why you feel that way. It seems like a simple statement, but it's very difficult to actualize what I just said. We hear so many times in this world, particularly, hold space, honor the feeling, sit with the feeling. And those are concepts that can many times feel disorienting when you see it as a quick kind of a clip or you see it on a meme, right? So what that really means is checking in, feeling the offness without trying to figure it out or place a picture or a person or a story on the offness. So we were talking about potentially the offness being associated with waking up from an awkward dream or a dream that felt adversarial to the vibration that we want to have. And then we feel affected by that. And then based on our personalities, we either are able to let that feeling go, or to sensitive creatives or sensitive people, that feeling wants to be tended to. Immediately, the ego wants to create a story as to why you're feeling that way. We want to bring meaning to it. We want to define it so that we can feel met in the space. That's not necessarily bad, but it doesn't allow us to sit with just the feeling. It actually has us trying to figure it out. Those are two different things. If I'm trying to figure out a feeling, the feeling's not going anywhere. And usually when I go, oh, I figured it out, it's because of you, or it's because of that dream, or it's because I'm a Capricorn, or it's because, now what we think is, we figured it out and now it's going to go away. It actually really doesn't, because we haven't sat with the feeling and tended to the feeling. Say the feeling is fear. Anything other than looking around your environment and understanding there's actually something to be afraid of, the fear is something old and has a very old story. The dream was obviously, or maybe not so obviously, was an opportunity for you to sit with an old feeling. But as soon as we put the importance on the dream itself for making us feel that way, we're not sitting with the feeling anymore. Sitting with the feeling means I feel afraid. There's a big difference from I am afraid and I feel afraid. I feel afraid. I look around the room. I understand I had an upsetting dream. And in order to sit with the feeling and watch and feel, more importantly, as it dissipates, we have to tend to the feeling. I'm safe. My environment is safe. I have a feeling of uncertainty inside of me that I need to tend to. For me, I start to look at who needs tending. She's probably not 51. She's probably 10. And she still lives inside of me. And she still gets triggered into fear once in a while. And I need to talk to her. And I need to give her what she needs in that moment. That would be feeling it, sitting with it, tending to it, and then it starts to dissipate. That's the difference between, oh, that person made me feel that way. The dream made me feel that way. Made me feel that way is kind of like the buzzword for knowing that we're off base. Made me feel that way is a trigger. The trigger belongs inside. The feeling is inside. We tend to the feeling and then it can start to dissipate. Otherwise, if we put all kinds of definitions or people or stories on the fear, it doesn't go anywhere. We just feel like, yep, that's why I was afraid.
Well, and it's also, I think, even appropriate to be using the example of like having a dream that caused you to wake up feeling some way, because that is sometimes how feelings, at least for me anyway, sometimes how feelings all of a sudden just like whoosh, like wash over you, and all of a sudden you're like, it's like almost like you're waking up to that feeling in real life. Like if something happens, it's like it just wakes up inside of you and you're like, whoa, suddenly I'm feeling, again, afraid or like really insecure or really nervous, or it's almost like a dreamlike experience where it's real, but you can't quite grasp it. And you're like, why? Where is this coming from? And it's difficult to even with words verbally describe it. And I think that's sometimes for me where a lot of permission to, maybe not permission, but like where this kind of unavoidable acknowledgement of this underlying feeling for whatever the reason it is comes up. So again, last night had this dream, big waves of insecurity came over as I was about to teach this morning. And I was like, no one listens to me. No one cares about what kind of class I'm bringing. No one values what I'm offering. And this like old script or some underlying belief that I have somewhere inside comes up in the form of a dream. Can't explain it, but then I'm affected by this feeling going into my class, and it's like, oh, that's kind of weird. It's just this dream that I had, even though you might be able to make some kind of comparison to how like the dream experience is sometimes like just as weird and mysterious as feelings themselves that just wash over you.
And can feel more disorienting because it's not clear. So
Yeah.
you wake up from this dream with all of these feelings, with this picture that's not super clear. They don't superimpose perfectly on top of each other. So now you're confused. But ultimately, I love that you said it feels so real, and I couldn't tell you that it doesn't feel real. You're like, no, it felt real. My heart was racing. So it feels real, but it's not true. The feeling is real, but it's not based in anything that is true unless you still believe nobody cares about this. Nobody cares about me. And then you're looking to project that feeling on a class that's going to be waiting for you at 9 a.m. Right? Rather than, so again, a big phrase we use in this world is let it go. If you haven't tended to it, letting it go is it's step one of spiritually bypassing it. Like, oh, it was just a dream. You really shouldn't feel that way. Because my heart's still racing, and I do. So when we tend to the feeling, that's when we can watch it stop having such a hold on us. And that's when it starts to be let go. But letting go is a process. It's not something that we just like, oh, that was just a dream, weirdo. Or because it was just a dream is essentially telling your entire nervous system that you're wrong for feeling that way. So we say that feeling is very real. I can feel it in my body. My heart or my chest is hot, and the story that that's associated with that feeling is nobody really cares about this. Those are deep-seated, rooted things that didn't just happen because you had a yoga class to teach today. Those are things that need tending to. That's a little girl who really believes that. And then she's going to bring that into her class, or she's going to bring that into this place. So we go, true vulnerability says, tell the whole truth. I feel that in my chest. It feels very real, but I know it's not true. So it would really be wonderful if I could speak truth out of my mouth right now, even if I'm having a hard time believing it. I got you. You're valuable. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. These are things that the ego may feel like are largely unnecessary. And they are the most necessary things that we can say to ourselves when we're feeling the very real feelings of fear, insecurity, and hesitation. We don't want to let that go. We want to tend to that. We want to love her. Then it starts to dissipate. But we can't just cut it and sweep it under the rug under the assumption that A, I shouldn't feel that way, and B, it was just a dream.
Yeah. I like what you said about it not being like the letting go process isn't just something that happens right away, because of course I'm looking at myself before this class thinking it's time to teach and we must I think I actually said those words to myself. I was like, you gotta let it go, baby girl. And I was like, okay, I let it go. And maybe I loosened my grip a little bit, but I think the implications of the day and of the dream and just kind of how the whole process unfolded didn't really even come into my conscious awareness until the end of the day, 12 hours later. As now I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that dream was really about deeper insecurities that I have, that even though it was a good growing step to be I don't know, to be oh, you're not shutting down like you sometimes have had the tendency to do in the past. Great job. Yes, that is a good step on the human growth trajectory that I'm on, that we are all on, and what these opportunities present to us. So in that way, it was like, okay, good. We taught the class. I'm saying things to myself, like you're saying about like speaking truth. I said all of the right things in terms of like, you do know how to teach. You've got the tools. You are a good teacher. You are, all the things that you are, not that you want to be, but like all the things that you are, all the truth. And I think that it was enough, like for the day. I don't know, I have a hard time saying that, but I do, because maybe there's a bit of a like perfection complex
And
there.
perfection would say what?
But it's just a lot of shoulds. It's a lot of like, you should get it together. You should be able to push through. This shouldn't affect you. You should be feeling this way. And that makes it really difficult to actually shift out of those feelings. And as you and I have talked about many times, that when you are someone who is so lucky to be a big feeler and has a lot of material to work with in terms of like experiencing life in very real wavy ways. I think anyone who has those waves, anyone knows that that's just not the way.
Yes, a wavy person is always going to shame themselves into thinking static is better. And then static people are always going to shame themselves into thinking wavy people are better. It's just the mechanism that we have that's keeping, which again is just another mechanism of the ego, right? So this morning we can boil things down to insecure. Well, I guess I would ask, was it insecure, unprepared? What were your primary feelings when you woke up from the dream? Like insecure, were you overwhelmed? Anxious?
Yeah, I would say primary feeling was insecurity. And maybe also I was going to say unworthiness.
Well, that's amazing because we just fast tracked it. That's where it usually is going to come down to. And that really has zero to do with teaching a yoga class at 9:00 in the morning or having a scary dream about it. Those were the things that disrupted or erupted a deeper belief about you. Insecure, unworthy. Those are big, broad brushes, but those are the big ones. Those are the big ones way down deep that a lot of us are outsourcing to little microaggressions. These are the big ones. Okay. So again, to bring that back to the things that we say in yoga a lot, which is exhale and let go of anything that no longer serves you, like insecurity and unworthiness. We just let that go.
Oof, I know. And like we said earlier, I was in there being like, arms up, good, lengthen through your spine. Come on, we really need this, guys. I need this.
Well, because
Gotta lengthen this damn spine up to the crown, please.
because that suggestion, which is why I don't say it very often, is it creates shame at the end of the day when I still feel insecure and I still feel unworthy.
You mean to not say, exhale something that no longer serves you?
Because I say something like, try to recognize what it might feel like to release your grip on this old belief. Just release it a little bit, because letting it go, it's too much today, because you'll realize that insecurity and unworthiness has been serving you. The light bulb moment when you realize that my low frequency is actually serving a part of me that only knows how to stay the same. Worthy, empowered, secure, and confident. I don't know her. And the unknown is an absolute terror to the ego. So when you wake up with these old real feelings and you remind yourself that they are not true, that is a sign that you are on the precipice of expansion. Now you can start to slowly release your grasp, but just let it go. That's bypassing it. So slowly releasing it means I woke up with the lie of unworthiness so palpable from this subconscious dream that my heart was racing. I didn't even want to go to yoga. And I'm over here going like, I know I'm a good teacher and I know I'm this. And we're like convincing ourselves. And then just like you said, later we get to the end of our day and we're like, I need to tend to this, because I realized today that unworthiness and insecurity, it's not just that they just serve me. I'm subconsciously trying to get back to that belief. And it all goes back to that living room when you were a kid. And the parents that we chose that didn't have the tools to know how to bring out our worthiness, our confidence, our strength. That's why we chose it. We chose the wound so we could alchemize it. When we wake up in the morning and feel the lie. Be with it, sit with it, and promise yourself that later you'll tend to these feelings. Not try to bully yourself out of them throughout the day to get it together to teach a yoga class. That's the moment you did it perfectly. You take a deep breath and you're like, we got this. I'll be back for you. It's like a little kid having a tantrum, and then we're just happy they're home later, calm, but they're not having the tantrum anymore, and we don't address the tantrum. Mm-hmm. That's a big part of parenting, is addressing the tantrum, not just like, oh my God, thank God we didn't have to leave Disneyland. You know? Yeah. It's like, no, we need to integrate that. There was something in this child's nervous system that was literally melting down. We don't want to just go like, oh, phew, avoided that nightmare. We want to tend to it later.
Oh, yeah.
The tending to it later part is in and of itself quite scary, because it's asking you to reparent yourself in a way that your parents didn't have the tools to do. We spend a lot of time talking about our unequipped parents. It's the difference between therapy and empowerment coaching. Therapy a lot of times talks about where we were. Empowerment talks about where we are with the wound of where we were. And asks, just because your parents didn't have the tools to be able to bring out that confidence, it doesn't mean that insecurity doesn't need tending to right now. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us in the initial conversations that became the foundation for unraveling the shoulds. We invite you to continue this journey along with us each week as we dive deeper into our truest selves.